They say some places are built by human hands, and others, well, they simply appear. Imagine waking up one morning, looking out your window at the same familiar landscape you've seen 1,000 times, only to find something impossible staring back at you. That's exactly what happened in the quiet, unassuming town of Mill Creek, Maine, in the spring of 2003. On a Tuesday morning, residents awoke to a sight that defied all logic, a house that no one remembered seeing before. It stood silently at the edge of the forest, a large, Victorian-style home, its white paint chipped and weathered, as if it had been battling the elements for a century. Lace curtains fluttered in its open windows, and its front door swayed gently in the morning breeze, an unnerving, silent invitation. There had been no construction crews, no noisy delivery trucks, no sound of hammering or sawing that would have echoed through the small town. And yet, there it was, fully formed, looking as though it had been a fixture of the landscape for 100 years. At first, confusion was the primary reaction. People tried to rationalize it. It must be a renovation, they said. Maybe an old, forgotten farmhouse was being restored, and they'd just never noticed it before. But that easy explanation quickly fell apart. When the local authorities were called in, they checked the property records, expecting to find a simple answer. They found nothing. No deed, no construction permits, no satellite images showing any structure. In fact, aerial photos from just the day before showed exactly what everyone remembered, an empty patch of field. And now a two-story house stood in its place. The story gets stranger. Neighbors began sharing unsettling details. A retired postal worker named John Mercer swore on his life that the house was not there during his evening walk around 10 p.m. the previous night. By sunrise, however, it stood silently, cloaked in the early morning fog. Another resident, who lived just down the road, reported hearing a bizarre, low humming sound like static coming from inside the walls of the house. A sound that seemed to vibrate through the ground itself. The air around the property was thick with the smell of old, damp wood and freshly turned earth. As more people cautiously approached, they discovered that modern technology failed them. Their cell phones would suddenly lose their signal. Digital cameras would flicker and die. Some witnesses even claimed the air around the property felt physically thicker, heavier, making it difficult to breathe. Within 2 days, the mystery had grown too large to ignore. Local police, baffled and without any official explanation, set up a perimeter, taping off the area to keep the curious public at bay. A few brave officers were tasked with entering the house. Or at least they tried to. What they reported from inside borders on the impossible. The interior didn't seem to match the exterior. Rooms felt cavernously larger than they should have been. They described staircases that looped back on themselves, leading them right back to where they started. One officer spoke of a long hallway that ended at a single door. But when he opened it, he found himself staring down another hallway identical to the one he had just walked through. They attempted to document their findings, to capture some shred of evidence. But every photo they took came out corrupted. The images were filled with grey static, blurred, unrecognizable shapes. And in a few deeply disturbing cases, the faint outlines of faces that weren't supposed to be there. After the second day, having found no answers and only more questions, the police sealed off the area completely. No one was allowed in or out. The house stood alone, a silent monument to the inexplicable. Then, on the 5th night, a powerful thunderstorm rolled in from the coast. The sky lit up with ferocious flashes of lightning, and thunder cracked so loudly it shook houses for miles around. One particularly massive bolt struck the ground near the edge of the forest where the house stood. The next morning, as the sun rose over a rain-washed mill creek, the house was gone. Completely. There was no rubble, no debris, no foundation marks left in the ground. Even the grass where the two-story structure had stood for 5 days looked untouched, perfectly green and undisturbed. It was as though the building had been neatly lifted out of reality itself, leaving not even a whisper of its presence behind. The story might have ended there, dismissed as a strange local legend or a case of mass hysteria. But weeks later, a determined local journalist named Rachel Keane managed to obtain security footage from a nearby gas station, its camera pointed in the general direction of the field. She spent days combing through the recordings from the week the house was present. And then she found it. In a single, grainy frame time-stamped at a 17A. To nights after the house appeared, you can see something in the background, almost lost in the digital noise. It's the faint, ghostly outline of a window, glowing with a soft, ethereal light. And inside that window, a shadow. A distinctly human-shaped shadow, moving slowly, deliberately, past the glass. In the very next frame, just a fraction of a second later, there's nothing. Just the inky blackness of the night. Skeptics tried to debunk it, of course. They called it a mirage, a strange reflection caused by a temperature inversion in the atmosphere. Others stuck to the theory of an elaborate, town-wide hoax. But digital forensic experts who analyzed the footage confirmed it. The tape hadn't been altered. The image was real. And then came the after effects. Those who had been near the site, the witnesses and the police officers, began reporting strange, lingering symptoms. Persistent insomnia. A faint but constant static sound in their ears. And most disturbingly, recurring dreams of standing before an endless, looping staircase in a house they couldn't escape. Over time, the witnesses stopped talking. The story became a taboo subject, a piece of local history people wanted to forget. Some of the families who lived closest to the site quietly moved away. But the final, chilling piece of the puzzle was unearthed by a town archivist months after the house vanished. While looking through old municipal records, he found a survey map from 1894. On that map, in the exact same spot at the edge of the Mill Creek Woods, was a drawing of a house with the same Victorian shape, the same distinct porch, the same orientation as the one that had appeared in 2003. According to the town records, that original house had burned to the ground in a lightning strike 109 years earlier. 5 people, an entire family, had died in the fire. Their bodies were never recovered. The official report from the time stated that the fire was so intensely hot, it left no trace of the structure behind. Only a patch of scorched earth. So, what was it that appeared in Mill Creek? Was it the same house, somehow repeating its existence? A glitch in the fabric of time? Or was it something else entirely, a memory, so powerful and tragic that it somehow became physical? The people who still live in Mill Creek say that when the fog from the coast rolls in thick and low, shrouding the woods in grey, you can sometimes see it. Just for a second, if you look at the right spot. The faint outline of a porch through the mist. And if you stand very still and listen carefully, they say you can hear faint whispers on the wind like the sound of old wood settling, or the soft murmur of voices, waiting to be remembered. Perhaps the house was never just a place. Perhaps it was a moment, trapped between then and now. A terrifying reminder that not everything that disappears is truly gone, and not everything that appears is meant to stay. Because some structures aren't built from bricks and nails. They're built from memory, from grief, and from the echoes of what should have never been forgotten. The question we're left with is not how a house could appear overnight, but why? Did it really manifest from nothing, or did we, for 5 brief days, just finally notice it? Thanks for watching. If you enjoy exploring the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface of our world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. Stay curious.